first theme is this whole idea of reinventing yourself while you're successful, right? This whole idea of portfolio management. So how do you not just lean back and say, oh, we're doing great, we're going to get better and better at what we're already doing. You need that culture of day one. So that Jeff Bezos famously calls their culture a culture of day one. You never relax. You're obsessed by going out of business and you reinvent yourself. And that's hard, right? When you're successful, easy to kind of get arrogant. So then the second one is really, there's a library of business model patterns in the book where we show how you can compete, not just on product, price, and services, but how do you compete on better business models, superior business models. So we really, like a pattern library in architecture or in design in general, we try to show people these are better business models, and you use them as inspiration. I think in particular now, you have to ask yourself, how can we change our business model? And you can already see that some business models are more resilient than others. Because now if you're just in a transactional model where you sell stuff, that's a very tough time to survive. But when you're in a business model where you have more of a platform, you have recurring revenues, you're much safer today. So that's the second theme. And then the third theme is this whole idea of, and I think you can talk about this quite a lot, right? Transcending industry boundaries. So not competing in an industry anymore. So not saying, hey, I'm a pharmaceutical company or I'm an airplane builder. You have to think beyond that. The business, the unit of analysis becomes the business model. So if you think Amazon, you can't put them into an industry anymore. Their business model does e-commerce for consumers and does infrastructure for companies at the same time. These are not two separate companies. It's not an old school conglomerate. It's one business model that does both well because the back end is the same. So it's those kind of things that start to make you invincible. If you can reinvent yourself all the time, if you compete on better business models, and if you are able to transcend industry boundaries.
It's fascinating, as a strategist, fellow strategists, and if I go back to the work of Edith Penrose, back in the day, in the 50s, and she asked at the time of her fellow economists, she said, what is an industry? We made that up. And her study of growth, fascinatingly, I think is sort of a presagement of what you found here in the book, because what she said was entrepreneurially minded managers deeply know the capabilities of their companies, and they look for places where those capabilities could be built out. And that is really the secret sauce behind the corporate growth phenomenon that she observed. And, of course, on her work, it was built, the resource-based view of the firm and all these other wonderful concepts. But I think it's so interesting that many of our public policies and many people that make decisions about sort of the structure of how we build our economies don't really understand that. So I think this is a really important moment because I think we're potentially on the brink of a great rewriting of a lot of the rules of how capitalist systems work. And so I think books like yours, based on that long tradition, are so informative.